Hello everybody, I'm SocietySucks and welcome back to another video. Today I'm checking out Your Time Machine Broke at the Worst Time in History by Kurzgesagt. I wonder what Kurzgesagt thinks the worst time in history is. I would say anything before the 1900s because, well, you don't really have modern medicine. So if you get sick with something more serious, you're dead. That's it. You'll probably die. But let's see what they think.
Your time machine broke, and you're stuck in the worst time in history. It feels like you stepped into an oven. There are no plants or any vegetation, and almost no moisture in the air. The sunlight smashing down from the cloudless and weirdly
you won't survive this.
Is reflected by an endless sea of red and orange sand dunes stretching over the horizon for thousands of kilometers. Dust devils the size of buildings dance over the hellish landscape.
You're in the early Triassic, hothouse Earth 250 million years ago, a few million years after the worst mass extinction in history. The planet is still suffering from a permanent fever. Volcanism and the runaway greenhouse effect has transformed the planet into hell. There's 3 to 5 times more CO2 in the air than in the human era. The formation of the massive supercontinent Pangaea led to the largest desert in history that barely sees any rain.
So yeah, you're not surviving this.
Warm, even deep below. 2 superheated currents circulate around the globe, pumping extreme amounts of heat and moisture into the atmosphere. There's no ice, even at the poles.
Seems like you're stuck in the center of the desert, isolated by endless ancient landmasses. One of the most hostile environments Earth has ever produced.
If I was in this type of situation and I was in the middle of a massive desert with no ways to escape, I would just try to end myself quickly. Because there's no surviving this. The only way you could really survive is either if you manage to repair the time machine, or if you're close to the sea, which, I mean, in this case, you're not, because this is the middle of the desert. So, yeah, this is not survivable.
The deserts we know are still full of life, but not this one. Its core is starved of moisture, and the air is bone dry. Your skin dries out immediately, and your lips begin to crack. The CO2-rich air is easily 50 degrees Celsius and sears your lungs
50
with
degrees Celsius.
Breath.
I would die on the spot.
The soles of your boots begin to melt. If you touch the ground, you'll get burns. Your sweat evaporates before it could cool you, and your exposed skin begins to crack within minutes. Suddenly, it becomes even hotter as a red sandstorm envelops the landscape. Like thousands of tiny sparks, burning hot sand hits your skin. You're pressing your machine's buttons at random. It can't do time travel, but it can still move. You shoot over some of the mightiest mountains Earth has ever seen. Eventually, you stop at the shores of the Tethys Sea. The vast shallow ocean looks more like a swamp among scattered groups of waist-high ferns and spindly stems with tufted foliage. A few Lystrosaurus feeding on them eye you curiously. The water is murky and looks sickly and milky. Colourful mats of bacteria float on the surface like oil slicks.
Yeah, what about the wildlife that
hot and
still exists?
Like a steam room. It's hard to breathe, and your sweat can't evaporate and cool you. Even the water can't give you any relief. It's as hot as a freshly run bathtub.
Well, shit!
This hot ocean can't hold much oxygen, especially in deeper layers. Bacteria and bivalves are the only species that thrive here. The waves move almost sluggishly through this thick bacterial soup. When they break, they leave behind a glistening iridescent film. Each wave that hits the shore releases a mist that makes your eyes and throat burn, carrying the rotten egg stench of hydrogen sulfide up from the oxygen-starved depths. Barely conscious from the heat and smell and CO2, you look at the horizon. A storm is building unlike any you've ever seen. The hot ocean feeds it endless energy, and with no continents to slow it down, it will dwarf the fiercest hurricanes of your time. You're doomed. Your broken time machine jolts and screeches. Something's happening.
Where is it now?
You're near the equator, in the late Carboniferous, 320 million years ago.
The equator?
The atmosphere is thick with moisture. The climate is locked in a never-ending wet super summer without any other seasons. Colliding continents are covered by the largest swamps the planet will ever see. a paradise for plants growing faster than their dead
But not for
biomass
humans.
can decompose. The ground beneath is a warm, soggy mass of decaying vegetation. What will be an endless desert.
I wonder what disease would be like back in these times. I assume disease would be far worse than the ones we have today. And on top of that, there's no medicine. So if you get sick with anything here, there is quite literally nothing you can do. I mean, obviously this is unrealistic because it's time travel, but it's fun to theorize what would happen to you. All the horrifying ways in which you would die here because there is no survival. Not like this. No chance. You're not surviving.
In 70 million years is now an endless alien jungle. A huge variety of life is thriving in this period.
From your perspective, this is not that great. You're lost in a maze of giant tree-like plants,
Probably also plenty of
towering over
animals that
twisted undergrowth
can
of
and
giant
will
ferns,
want to
and
kill you.
endless varieties of bizarre and unfamiliar vegetation. The thick, humid air smells of sweet decay, but breathing makes you dizzy. Your vision seems too sharp, your thoughts slightly frantic. The dense plant cover has supercharged the atmosphere with oxygen, 60% higher than in the human era, and your body is trying to cope. Which is great for the dominant land animals, which have conquered every niche of this majestic garden. Bugs. You're stuck in the golden
Yeah, bugs
age
were
of
massive back then.
arthropods. In this
Because of the
oxygen-rich world,
extra oxygen.
they have evolved to sizes that will never be possible again.
Imagine if there was this much oxygen today. Ants would probably be the size of cats. Hell, maybe even dogs. Can you imagine that? Ants would have killed us all if they were that big.
Again, they are innumerable and everywhere. Armored cat-sized megarachni crash through the undergrowth, hunting a swarm of panicked rochoids that scatter in all directions. Above you, a griffin fly with wings spanning nearly a meter and beating like helicopter blades
Nearly a meter,
catches
that's
a Paleodictyoptera
insanely
mid-flight.
massive.
You stumble through the bushes filled with
For an
countless
insect?
crawling creatures as an arthropleura the length of a car picks its way through the ferns, moving countless legs in
like a-
hypnotic waves. You reach a swampy
Was that like the ancestor of the centipede?
clearing and stumble into the shallow water, dizzy and terrified as a Pulmonoscorpius rips apart its prey.
Oh, the Pulmonoscorpius,
eyeing you
yeah.
with some interest. Here in the clearing,
It would definitely
you can
kill
see
you.
the sky above the canopy glow shrieking red, intensifying at an alarming pace. The extreme humidity here creates sudden, violent thunderstorms, and the oxygen-rich atmosphere makes everything dangerously flammable. Even the wet vegetation can burst into explosive flame with the slightest spark. Why do all of your trips end in a storm? Well, at least it will take all the creatures that want to eat you with it. Your broken time machine jolts back to life. The world is folding in on itself.
Where to this time?
You've woken up in the early Devonian, 400 million years ago. Most of the planet is covered in shallow seas, while the land is mostly rocky plains and mountains.
So we're just going
broken
back
by
further
braided
in time.
rivers and mudflats. Earth is in a state of transition. For about 100 million years, life has begun to break down rocks into soil, a soft layer that enables plants to grow and life thrive. The ozone layer is slowly building up, fed by organisms releasing gases. Recently, this process has
Wait, if the ozone layer is only slowly building up, wouldn't you die from radiation poisoning?
been speeding up. The land is turning from toxic to semi-habitable.
The sky looks wrong somehow. The sun blazes harsh and
'Cause there's
white,
no
barely
ozone
filtered by the
layer.
unfamiliar atmosphere. The air feels thin, with only 15% oxygen compared to
Oh,
today's
well,
21.
it's slowly building.
Each breath feels shallow and unsatisfying. You're on the verge of passing out and can only move slowly. At least it's currently moderately warm and not stormy. But it's what dominates these lands that makes this world truly alien. Reaching up to 8 meters into the sky are massive obelisks of fungal prototaxites. As you walk closer, you notice
Interesting.
spores catching the sunlight, drifting through the air like tiny stars.
So there's just a bunch of
Your movement
fungus.
disturbs more of them, creating clouds suspended in the thin atmosphere. They coat your skin with a fine, powdery, itchy film. You try not to think about how many you're inhaling with every breath.
Yeah, don't
in
breathe
this
it in.
oxygen-poor air. The ground feels nothing like soil. It's mostly rock, partly covered by a thin, slightly springy layer of decomposing matter. Some shallow water pools reflect the pale alien sky above. Between the fungal towers, there's a carpet of smaller fungi and a few alien-like primitive plants. No flowers, no leaves, just strange green stalks and fern-like structures that reach your ankles. Around you, the fungal towers rise like pale pillars. Their surfaces neither smooth nor rough, but something in between. They're neither wet nor dry, slightly yielding under your touch. Small patches of what might be lichen create splashes of muted greens and yellows on their surfaces. The only animals you can spot are a few insects burrowing into the large mushrooms. Everything is eerily quiet. You sit down on a rock. Is this it?
Well, there's not
As
exactly...
the night approaches, the pale sky shifts
The conditions for life are not exactly here yet. All there is fungus and some tiny insects. So no wonder it's completely just empty.
into sickly purples and greys, bleeding into the darkness. No animal sounds announce the coming night, just the solemn whisper of the prototaxites creaking in the wind. Through the thin atmosphere, the stars and the Milky Way illuminate the
That's
scenery
probably
with
even worse
unsettling
than
clarity.
being
The
stuck
fungal towers loom
with gigantic
as pale
insects.
shapes against the starlit sky.
'Cause now
their
you just hear
silhouette
nothing.
seeming even more wrong in the darkness. You are utterly alone, a time traveler lost in an alien world. Your time machine sputters.
What now?
Time to start rebuilding civilization.
Oh, that's it?
And
Well, obviously, all three of those scenarios are not survivable. You would perish in every single one. However, the worst one would probably be the third one. The last one, the 400 million years ago. Because of just how empty and desolate the land is. I would prefer giant animals that are trying to kill me to just the absence of any life, other than the bit of fungus and small insects. Yeah, if I was stuck in any of these scenarios, I would try to fix the time machine. If that doesn't work, I would just end myself somehow. Because there is no surviving this, so you may as well just end it quick and painlessly. Remember guys, if time travel ever becomes a thing, and you go time traveling, always keep something that can end your life on you. A gun, some sort of pill, poison, whatever. Just in case you ever get stuck in a situation like this, or let's say you get stuck sometime during the medieval period and they throw you in jail because they think you're some sort of heathen or God knows what, a demon maybe, or a witch. But it's all jokes. I doubt time travel will ever become a thing because, let's be honest, if time travel existed, wouldn't we have seen time travelers by now? Would someone not have tried to kill Hitler before he came to power and did all the stuff that he did? I'm pretty sure that if time travel did exist, somebody would have tried that. Not just with Hitler, but also with a ton of other world leaders who did terrible things like Stalin, Mao Zedong. So yeah, I just don't believe time travel exists, and I don't believe it will ever exist. To me, it is an impossibility. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you're interested, why not watch this video right here? And with that, I'll see you in the next video.